Erev test. They may surround the camp with three ropes, one above the other, provided that there not be 3 fists between one rope and the other. The thickness of the rope is more than a fist, in order that the total should be 10 fists. They may surround the camp with pickets, provided that the space between one picket and the other is not 3 fists. They spoke of a caravan. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. But the sages say they spoke of a caravan only because it is common. Any partition not consisting of a warp and a weft is not considered a partition. And these are the words of Rabbi Yossi ben Yehuda. But the common say either of the two. 4 obligations were waived in the camp. They may bring wood from anywhere. They may are exempt from washing their hands, from demai, and from making an erev. Okay. Here we go. They may erect slats around the wells, 4 double posts, which seem like 8. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. The Meir says 8, which seem like 12. 4 double posts and 4 single posts. Their height is in 10 tefachim, the width 6, and the thickness is any side whatsoever, and between them is the equivalent of 2 teams of 3 oxen each. These are the words of Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Yehuda says 4 each. Tied but not loose. One enters and one exits. It is permitted to place the slats close to the well, being provided that a cow has its head and most of its body within while drinking. It is permitted to place the slats at any distance, provided one increases the slats. Okay.
Wait, I think you just read base, right?
Yes.
It felt kind of like you skipped something, but
No, I don't think so.
but maybe not. So let's just go back to the beginning of base because we need to dive into that.
Okay.
Okay.
It is permitted to place this
Mhm.
base, right? Base. It is
Okay.
permitted to place.
This is me.
This is you now?
Yeah, this is my job.
I thought we did, I thought we did that yesterday. That one. Okay. All right.
So
Okay.
now we are talking about the slats that you put around the public wells, right?
Right.
That
Right.
is like it's not a normal mechitza. Normally we require a mechitza to be 10 tfachim and
Right.
not too many gaps. It must be mostly fence. And this was specifically for the public wells that they made this leniency. Okay, so mutar lahakriv leba'er. You can bring the slats closer to the well if you want to. Ubilvad shetehei para rosha v'ruba bifnim v'shosa. As long as it's close enough that most of the cow is inside the well area in order to be able to drink. Otherwise, you're going to be wind up taking water from the Rishos Yachid into Rishos Rabim. Okay, mutar laharchik kol shehu. You can make the boards go further from the well, but then what you got to do now, bilvad yarbi b'pasin. But then you got to start increasing the number of boards because you don't want the gaps to be too big. You
Right.
got to have you got to have. I think we said that there was a machlokas between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda about how big the gaps could be
Right.
up to 10 amas. One said up to I think 13,
No,
13 and a third amas. So according to each one's opinion, you can make the gaps the boards go further, but then you've got to increase boards so that you don't have a gap of more than the maximum.
and this is in the it says it says 8, which seems like 12, 4 double posts and 4 single ones. But in the commentary, it says that it says the Mishnah refers to a case where the gap is between 10 and 13 and a half cubits.
Right.
Right. So okay. All
Okay.
right.
So if you want
Okay.
to, you can make those boards go further from the well. Okay.
Right.
Anyway, Mishnah Gimel, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ad beis sasayim. He says that you can only distance the boards from the well until the area that's enclosed is the area of 2 sa'ah that you would sow 2 sa'ah of seed in.
Right.
Um, we came across the concept of beis sa'ah actually in Kilayim, if you recall how you could um,
Right.
okay, so it was just also in a technical measure of how you could put things into a beis sa'ah. Okay, at Beis Amru lo Amru Beis Sasayim el Legina lo Karpef. They said, what are you talking about? The shear of Beis Sasayim was not said in regard to Eruvin. They were talking about Shelo Kafula Dira. Oh,
This,
for these things that weren't surrounded for living in it, right? A karpef is a large open area outside the city that is that's basically a storehouse for wood or other things like that. It's not a residence. That's a karpef, is a
right.
wood pile or something like that. Okay. Val im haya deer. So if a deer is an area that's been fenced off for cattle, that you put the cattle in there so that they can poop in it, and you can use that for fertilizer. Okay, or sahar, which is which is just an area for enclosing the animals, and then there you see the Hebrew word sohar is a jail. It's a
No,
enclosure. Um, Okay, Muktzeh. Muktzeh is also a large open area that's behind the houses. That's or Chatzer, which is in front of houses. Um, so so the Chachamim said, so again, getting back into context of our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda was saying that the enclosure around the well can only be up to the Beit Sa'atayim.
right.
Uh, and the Chachamim said this Beit time is only talking about the Gina and the Karpef. But if it was a deer or a sahar or a muktzeh or a chatzer, it doesn't matter how big it is. Afilu Beit Chameshet Korin. That's a massive area. They're just exaggerating. We don't need to worry about how big a core is, how many sa'ah go into a core. It's a huge area. Afilu Beit Aseres Korin. 5 core, 10 core, doesn't matter. Mutar. You're allowed to, you can fence that off and carry within it. So the maximum that we had, that's so the Chachamim are telling Rabbi Yehuda, you've got your Masorah wrong. Yes, there is a maximum of 2 sa'ah that we're talking about for enclosing an area, but that's talking only about a gina and a karpef, right? The wood pile, or the garden thing, and that's where it's got.
Right.
ומותר להרחיק כלשהו, ובלבד שירבה בפסים. So we repeating this ומכאן שמותר, and therefore, so they're repeating that this psak, that therefore it is mutar to increase the size, as long as you increase the boards. Of course, so as much as you want, you can increase this area around the well, as long as you increase the board. So they're just repeating the psak from the previous Mishnah, that this is that is the halacha. Okay, back to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Im haisa derech harabim mafsakatan isalken letzadin." Now, if you had a public thoroughfare going past this well, and you wanted to build the pasan around it so people can refill their animals on Shabbos, you have to move the rishus, you have to move the road to the side. You have to put detour signs and get people to walk around it. But Chachamim ain't tzarich. Nah, not necessary. Why is it not necessary? Because it's not actually a rishus harabim. It's a derech harabim, but it's not
Right.
a rishus harabim deraisa, and therefore let the people walk through it. We don't care. Echad bor harabim ube'er harabim ube'er yachid. So bor and be'er are two different things. Bor is a cistern and a be'er is a well. Okay. So in all these cases, whether you can put these boards around it to allow people to carry the water from the well into the Rishos Rabim. Osin lahin pasin aval lebor hayachid. But if you've got a cistern that belongs to a private individual, osin lo mechitza gavoha asarat tvachim. That now we've got it. We revert back to regular rules of mechitzas, right? It's got to be a proper fence of 10 tvachim that surrounds it. That's it's got to be mostly fence, and it's got to be no gaps more than 10 amas. So it's
Okay.
basically reverting back to regular requirements for a machitza. Okay, so everything else is fine, but if it's but a private cistern, in other words, it's not fresh water. It's just water that's being stored there. The bear is coming from a natural source. Okay, so that says Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba Omer ein osin pasin ela leber harabim bilvad. No, he says this heter that Chachamim said to make this sort of symbolic mechitza around the well only applies to a public well.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so l'shar osim chagora gavoa asarat tvachim. but everything else needs to have again a proper mechitza that separates it from the rest of the karmelis around it. Okay, so that's the machlokes and the halacha. In this case, normally when it's Rabbi Akiva against his chaver, paskin like
Right.
Rabbi Akiva, but in this case over here, Kahati says quotes from the Gemara that the halacha actually follows Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, that this makeshift symbolic mechitza only applies to a public well.
Oh, okay.
Even a public cistern or a private well, you've got to put up a proper mechitza.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
All right, let's go back.
Shabbos. Okay. Shabbos. Puff based salad.
Yes.
We may place a cooked dish in a pit in order that it be preserved, good water and stale water in order that it cool off, and cold water in the sun that in order to become warm. One whose garments fell into the water while traveling may continue to walk in them, and he may not fear. When he arrives at the outer courtyard, he may spread them out in the sun, but not in front of the people. One who bathes in the water of a cave or in the water of Tiberias and dried himself even with 10 towels may not carry them in his hand, but 10 people can make dry themselves with one towel. Their faces, their hands, and their feet, and they may carry it in their hands. We may anoint and massage the stomach, but we may neither knead nor scrape the skin. We may not go down to Kadima, nor take an emetic, or straighten one's infant's limbs, nor set a fracture. If one's hand or foot became dislocated, we may not massage it then with cold water, but he may bathe according to his usual manner, and he is healed. He is healed.
If he is healed, he's healed.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Love Zion.
Okay. Love Zion. She may fasten her cloak with a stone or with a nut or with a coin, provided she does not fasten it initially on Shabbos. An amputee may go out with his wooden foot. These are the words of Reb Meir, but Reb Yossi prohibits it. If it has a cavity for pads, it is susceptible to tumor contamination. His knee pads are susceptible to midrash contamination, and he may go out with them on Shabbos or enter the temple courtyard with them. His stool and his supports are susceptible to midrash contamination, and he may neither go out with them on Shabbos nor the temple courtyard with them. Masks are not susceptible to tumor contamination, and we may not go out with them on the Sabbath. Boys may go out with laces, and princes may go out with bells, and all people may do so, but the sages spoke of the actual custom. We may go out with that's it. Okay. We have Trumos. There we go. Trumos. Okay. 100 beds of Truma and one of Kulin. All are permitted if of a kind whose seed disintegrates, but if of a kind of seed who does not disintegrate, then even if there are 100 of Kulin and one of Truma, they are all forbidden. What grows from Tevel is permitted, and if it is a kind whose seed disintegrates, but if it is of the kind whose seed disintegrates, but if it is a kind of seed does not disintegrate, then what grows from what was grown is forbidden. Which is the kind whose seed does not disintegrate? Orim, garlic, and onion. And Rabbi Yehuda says garlic is like barley. If one weeds leek plants with a non-Jew, the product is tevel. He may eat it a chance meal. If truma seedlings which have become unclean were replanted, they become clean in that they do not convey uncleanliness. But one may not eat of them until the edible part is cut out. Rabbi Yehuda says until he cuts it out and repeats this thus. Okay.
Right. Mikvahs.
Okay. Dalit Aleph. If one places vessels under a pipe, whether large vessels or small vessels, even dungware or stoneware or mudware, they disqualify a mikvah. Whether one placed them or one forgot them, according to the words of Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel declared tahor when he forgot them, and Reb Meir said they were counted, and Beis Shammai noted Beis Hillel. However, they agreed that if he forgot them in a courtyard, it's tahor, and Reb Yossi said the dispute still stands in its place. If one placed a board under a pipe, it has a rim, it disqualifies a mikvah. If not, it does not disqualify a mikvah. And however, if he stood it upright to rinse it off, then in either case, it does not disqualify a mikvah. If one held out a cavity in a pipe to receive gravel, in a case that is of wood, and in case that it is of wood, it disqualifies a mikvah. Whatever the size of the cavity, but in a case that is earthenware, it disqualifies a mikvah, and the size of the cavity is 1 revius. Rabbi Yossi says also in the case of earthenware, it disqualifies a mikvah, whatever the size of the cavity, and they spoke of revius only concerning broken vessels of earthenware. If the gravel was in loose, it disqualifies a mikvah. If earth fell in it and it was pressed down, the mikvah is still fit. A pipe which is narrow at both ends and wide in the middle does not disqualify a mikveh because it was not made to receive.
Okay.
Pulling. Okay, base cat. If one slaughters at a sacrifice to the mountains, as a sacrifice to the hills, as a sacrifice to seas, or a sacrifice to rivers, as a sacrifice to the deserts, the slaughtering is invalid. If two hold a knife and slaughter, one slaughters as a sacrifice to one of these things, and one slaughters for a legitimate purpose, the slaughtering is invalid. We may slaughter neither into the seas, nor into the rivers, nor into vessels, but one may slaughter into a pool of water or in a boat on top of vessels. We may not slaughter into a pit under any circumstances, but where we may make a pit in his house in order that blood should flow into it, but he may not do so in the streets, so that he does not lend support to the practice of the sectarians. If one slaughters an animal for designation, an old offering, a shlomin offering, a guilt offering, or in case of doubt, a Pesach offering or a Thanksgiving offering, his slaughtering is invalid. A Red Shimon declares it valid. If two hold a knife and a daughter, one for one of these designations and one for legitimate purposes, this slaughtering is invalid. And if one slaughters an animal for the designation of a sin offering, a definite guilt offering, a firstborn, an animal type, or a substitution, his slaughtering is valid. This is the general rule. Whatever can be brought as a vow or the native offering, once one slaughters for his designation, is prohibited. And whatever cannot be brought for a vow or a donative offering, if one slaughters for his designation, it is valid.
Okay.
Nazir. Okay. Vav Yud. If he shaved his head following the sacrifice and it was found to be invalid, his shaving is invalid and his sacrifices do not count for him. But if he shaved for a sin offering which was slaughtered but not for a designated purpose, and then he brought this offering for the designated purpose, his shaving is invalid and his sacrifices do not count for him. If he shaved after the burnt offering or after the peace offering which was slaughtered not for the designated purpose, but that he brought his offerings for the designated purpose, his shaving is invalid and his sacrifices do not count for him. Reb Shimon says the sacrifices do not count to him, but the other sacrifices do count to him. If he slaved after all three, and one of them was found to be valid, his shaving is valid, and he brings the other sacrifices. Someone for whom the bloods had been thrown, and then he became tamei, Eliezer says he forfeits all. But the commentator should bring the rest of the offerings and become tahor. They said to him, it happened that Miriam the Tarmanite, that one of the bloods had been thrown for her, and they came and told her about her daughter who was in danger. She went and found that she had died, and the sages said she should bring the rest of her offerings and become tahor. A Kohen Gadol and a Nazir may not become tummy from contact with their relatives, but they may become in contact with an abandoned corpse. If they were traveling on the way and found an abandoned corpse, Eliezer says the Kohen Gadol should become tummy, but the Nazir should not become tummy. But the Kakaman said the Nazir should become tummy, the Kohen Gadol should not become tummy. If Eliezer said to them, the Kohen should become tummy since he does not bring a sacrifice for the tumah, but the Nazir should not become tummy since he brings a sacrifice for his tumah. They said to him, the Nazir should become tummy since the sanctity is not everlasting, but the Kohen should not become tummy since his sanctity is everlasting. Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Right. Okay.
Shkoyach.
Thank you very much.
Have a lovely day.
Have a great day. Enjoy.